Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to see what's new in MWF in the latest build. The latest build is 8740 and we have a few changes and also some new features that I believe everyone will be able to use and it will be very helpful for everyone. So we're gonna cover today the new MWF Download Center, the project benchmarks, new corner conditions for wood plates. So this is a new joint type available for wood. Then we're gonna take a quick look in some updates for the whole series when they are generated with marker lines. And for floors, we have an update for rectangular grid benchmarks and also an update in shop joints. So I'm just gonna jump in my project. And the first option we're going to see is the download center. So the new download center will be the location where you can go to download your families. It's going to be under the MWF menu. And if you go to download center, so it's the last option. So once it opens up, if it's the first time, it's going to ask you to sign in. I'm going to sign out just to show you. So let me go back to download center. So the first dialog box that you're going to see once you are logging in the first time is this one. So you're gonna have to add your username or email and then the password. So these credentials here are the ones that you use to log into your Greatech Advantage account. So for those who already have the Greatech Advantage account, you can just use your credentials and that will be your username and password to log into the download center as well. If you are still in the Strucsoft portal, you have to first create a login in the Greatech Advantage portal to be able to use the download center. If you're not sure, you can still just use the Revit option to load in the families like before. So if you haven't received the invite yet to create your Greatech Advantage account, you can just keep using the load family option here for now. If you already have, again, the Greatech Advantage account, then you can go ahead and use the download center. So again, I'm going to just add my email and my password. And I'm going to click sign in to enter the download center. So here at the left, you're going to see the library. And once you click in the options here, you're going to see the folders. Pro Suite, that's the one that I have installed, 2024. So we have the families. We also have the templates here as well, saved. And it's going to be the same as if you were going to load family with Revit. So you're going to have the same folders. It's just easier to find. It's going to be here. Let's say, for example, the regular families that we usually use will be under walls, and then we have framing components, and we have the imperial or metric folders. So let's say if I click on standard, I will see the families now. Those are the same families, the default ones that we always provide. We also have the manufacturers folder. It's still the same. And what we can do from here is you can create and save your favorites. So let's say if you have families that you usually use, you can go ahead and check the little star off so you can save that to your favorites folder. So let's say if I selected these, if I go here now to my favorites, I can see that I have a few already saved in that folder. So it's much easier for you to find your families now. You can have a little preview of them. So it's very straightforward for the user to be able to download the families that it's needed in the project. So for example, if I select the wood family, our default dimension lumber, if I check off here, it means that I want to download that into my project. So let's say if I select this one and let's say this one, for example, you can see here that it shows the quantity of families that you've selected. And once you click OK here, you will see the ones that you have selected. So you can double check if you are selecting the ones that you need, if you didn't select anyone by accident or something like that. If I click here again, I will be going back to the full folder. And once I'm ready to go ahead and load that in my project, I can click on next. And here is the sizes available. So again, it's the same workflow, just the dialog box looks a little bit different. So from here, you can go ahead and select the sizes that you'd like to load in. And as you can see, I have two families that I'm loading in at the same time. So let's say for this one, I'm going to select this. And once you're done, you can go ahead and click OK. And once you again load in the project, you should see them here. If you scroll down under structural framing, you should see them here. I already had a bunch of families, but if you look at the dimension lumber, it's going to be here, and the flat strap that I loaded in will be here as well. Now, moving on to the second feature that we're going to present today, that will be the benchmark, projects benchmark. So let's go back here to the cover page. So project benchmarks is a new option that is going to be available under settings. So once you go ahead here to project benchmark, we're going to see this dialog box. It will ask you which type of benchmark you would like to use. So you can use the default one or the rectangular grid. Again, a reminder, the default one would be similar to a little target. It's just a point in the project that you are selecting. The grid will be an actual grid, and you can control the stud spacing with that one as well. So for rearrangement purposes, this is usually the one that it's used, the default. And then we're going to use to add a prefix, benchmark, and then the initial sequence number. So let's say we're going to start at 10, for example. So this is all very similar to the options we have under markers to create new benchmarks. So this is a new option. And in that case, you're going to create already templates that are associated to that benchmark. So right now, what we have is we have the ability of creating a new default LGS template or a new default wood template, depending on what you're using. And the same goes for the floor module. You can create already a default template associated to this benchmark for your LGS projects, and also for the wood, template for the wood projects as well. So let's say if I click LGS in that case, and I'm going to go ahead and create a template for my wall module and my floor module. And if you are creating rafters as well, you can also create from here already a template associated to this benchmark for your rafters. And in that case, rafters again is just for wood. So in that case, this one is only for people who have either Pro Suite or Pro Wood. Okay, so for the example here today, we're going to use the LGS ones. So I checked off both of them. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to ask me where I want to place that benchmark. So that will depend on your project. You could use, again, Revit links as, Revit grids, I'm sorry. You could use Revit grids as a reference to place your benchmarks. Or if you don't have the Revit grids, you can just go ahead and click at any location. So let's say if I go here to this corner and I select this location here, and once I click OK, I'm adding my benchmark there. If I select the benchmark, you will see under mark in your instance parameters, you have the name of that benchmark, BM10 in that case. And as I mentioned, that process also created automatically a new default template that is already associated to this benchmark. So if I go here to my template manager and I look at my default folder here under, before we had only light gauge and wood templates, and now we have this new one that's called light gauge benchmark. So that's the one that was just created when I checked off that option to create a template for my light gauge default template. Okay, so if I check off the wood option too, I would have a wood benchmark template here as well. If I go to my floor menu, it will be the same. If I go to template manager, I can see that I also have a new family here, a new template here, and it's this one, light gauge benchmark. And as you can see for the floor, I also have a wood benchmark because I created another benchmark before and I checked off both options. So in that case, I already had the wood benchmark created for floors. Okay, so this benchmark again, it is associated to, in this case now, two templates, the light gauge default benchmark template in walls and the LGS template in floors. Which means that if I go ahead now to create panels, let's say if I create, if I select these two, three, oops, let me just add a few walls. So let's say if I'm selecting these walls here, and if I go ahead, let me go back to my wall module, and I'm going to click on create and go to my template. I'm doing the manual work so we can understand what we are selecting, but you could also create a template map and associate your templates to the wall so you can use quick create. So that workflow, it also remains the same. You can use quick create for that. I'm just not using it so we can see which template I'm selecting. So right now in the template manager, the template that I would like to use is the one associated to this benchmark, right? So it's this one that we've just created, light gauge benchmark, and we're gonna say set as active, close, and create. Let's click OK. And as you can see, now uh, all of these panels are referencing the benchmark. So the benchmark is what's controlling the stud arrangement. And as you can see, the spacing remains continuous, even though I'm changing from one panel to the other. So I do have the end studs here in the middle, but there's nothing I can do about that because it's the end of the walls. But the spacing between the studs are continuous because they are following the benchmark and not the start of the wall necessarily in that case. So if I click, let's say, in one of these panels and I go here to my properties, I can see right away if I go to structural members that it is already arranged to look at the benchmark and it is already selecting the benchmark that we've created. So it skips that step that we had before that we would place the benchmark and then you would have to go inside the panel and then modify from normal, change from normal to benchmark here in the arrangement style, and then select the benchmark and then click OK. And to save a template, we would go ahead and create the template from there. So it's just skipping all of those steps, and it is already creating a template that it is already associated to that benchmark for you. So that's what it's doing. Same thing for one of these panels here. So let's say if I select this one and I go here to my properties, if I go to structural members, I can see that it's already associated to the benchmark and it's looking at the benchmark number 10. So then again, if I do the same for my floors, so let's say, let me just hide this wall. Okay, there you go. So if I select this floor here and I go ahead in the floor menu to generate a floor, that floor panel, if I use that template that we just created, will do the same. We'll have already the benchmark associated to it. So again, I'm doing the manual work just to see, just so we can see which template I'm selecting, but you could associate that to your floor type in that case and use the quick create. For now, we're going to use the light gauge benchmark template and hit create. So then again, it's the same situation. It's following this benchmark to arrange the joists in that case. And as you can see, now that we're doing that, the joists are aligned with the studs, which is something that some clients do require in their projects. And then again, for those who don't know, let's say if I make a change in my project, something changes and this benchmark reference also changes. So let's say if I do something like this, if I move the benchmark, once I do that, because they are already associated, if I select these guys, so I'm going to regenerate the floor panel first. And now if I go here back to my wall module, I'm going to do the same for these walls here. So then it will update again following the benchmark. So in that case, if you need to change where the studs are falling, you need to move the benchmark. Of course, if you also want to change the stud spacing, you could do that as well. But if you need to adjust where they are falling exactly without modifying the stud spacing, then you can just move the benchmark to where you need the arrangement to be, and then it will update all the panels that are associated to that benchmark. Okay, so next one we have is the new corner condition for wood plates. So in that case, I'm going to come here to this corner. Let me just remove this one. So that new condition is only for people who have either Pro Suite or Pro Wood. So this is only available in wood, and it's only available for um, corner conditions where you have an angle that is not 90 degrees angle. So in that case, it's related to the plates because you're gonna have a cut here at an angle. Because before we would only have options that would cut at a 90 degrees angles for the plate, so we wouldn't cut the plate at that angle that you have in the wall. So just to show you where it is, if I go here to Marker Manager before we apply to the wall, if we come here to Join, it's going to be the first one here actually. As you can see, we have a little preview. So that's the join marker that we are going to use for that condition. So again, I have the two walls selected. If I go here to joins and place join, I should see that option in the in my panel joint definitions. So it's going to be again this first one. We're going to click OK. And then after we apply the join, we can go ahead and create the panels. And you could also use that join in in your auto join rule sets. Sorry, let me do a Control Z here. I'm just going to create this again. I'm going to select because this wall, I believe it's 4 inches. Yes, so I am going to just select another template. So let me hit create again. And let's go to my wood templates and let's create a 2x4. Okay. So this is what it would look like. As you can see, the top and bottom plates will be cut at the angle. If I zoom in here a little bit, I can see that they are being cut at an angle, both the top plates and also the bottom plate as well. So next one is regenerate whole series for marker line. So in that case, let me go ahead and select this panel here as an example. So what we're going to do first is just create a marker line. So we're going to come here to markers, create marker line. We're going to assign a horizontal line. Let's say 1. And we're going to assign a whole series here for that specific line. And hit OK. Then now that we have the marker line, we're going to just regenerate the panel. Okay. So here we have the punches, right? So the new functionality that we have is that we can actually um, regenerate those holes, the punches, without having to regenerate the panel. We already had that option here under Tools that's called Regenerate Hole Series, but it would only work for whole series that were created within the Properties option in the panel, so it wouldn't work for your marker lines. So now, if let's say if anything happens, for example, let's say by accident someone deletes the punches like this, let's say, and we're missing some punches here in the panel. In that case, you don't have to go ahead and regenerate the whole panel. You can just come here to Tools and click on Regenerate Whole Series. So that will minimize extra work. It will just regenerate the punches itself. And then you don't need to do anything else for the panel. It's much faster, especially if you have a heavy project. If you require to regenerate the panels itself, it might take a very long time. So if you're just regenerating the punches, it's much faster. But also, in case you have something in the panel that you don't really want to lose when regenerating, in that case, also the same situation applies. You can just regenerate the punches without regenerating the entire panel. So as you can see, the punches, they just come back once I regenerate the whole series properties. So this is also now supported by the marker lines functionality as well. Okay, so now going back to floors, if I look at my floor here, let me go back to my plan view, and I'm going to delete this one. Oh, sorry, let me go to floors module. So let's delete the panel. And I'm going to create a new, in that case here now, we're just going to create a floor panel with the default template. So not the one associated with this benchmark, just a regular default template. So we're gonna come here and select light gauge, frame it now, hit create. And now that we have this default panel here, if I go into properties, if you're doing this work manually of associating a benchmark, you can also come here to position in the general tab. And the last option that you see here is spacing benchmark. So here in the pull down, you can see the benchmarks available that you can associate to this panel. Before, we would only be able to see the benchmarks that are created with the default option. We wouldn't be able to see the rectangular grid option in that case. Now we actually support the rectangular grid as well. So then again, if we go with the old uh, placement method, you could come from here, insert benchmark, or you can do the same from the walls menu. So if you go under markers, you have benchmarks here by selecting points. And within that option, you have the default grid option here. So that's the one, that's the benchmark that is now supported for floors as well. Before, it would be only the default benchmark, which is this one that we saw. So the default grid, so let's just give it a prefix again. So let's say benchmark grid number 1, select. So again, I could click anywhere. Let's say if I click here at the corner. So by default, it will give me a grid like this. So that will be controlling the stud spacing in that case as well. And you can modify this by modifying the width and height. So let's say, for example, if I change this to, let's say 36, will be 3 feet in that case. That grid doesn't have to be overlapping with the panels. Just like this benchmark, it just needs to be at the correct location that you need it to be. But other than that, you don't have to worry about the placement and being exactly at the top of your panels. So it could be just close by. And in that case, because I have those grids as 36 by 36 inches, it means that if my direction here for my joists are going up like this, following the red arrow, in that case, it will be following the height of this grid, which is right now 3 feet, 36 inches. If I had that rotated and the joist would be vertical like this, it will be following the width of this grid, which is in that case also 36. So in that case, regardless of the direction of my joists, if I associate them to this grid, it will follow 36 inches in that case because I have 36 and 36 on both sides here. So if I go here to my properties again, and I go back there to my spacing benchmark, I can see now that I do see the BMG, which is the grid one. So you can actually use this one now for floors and not just the default benchmark. So as you can see now, if I look at the spacing, it's gonna be 36 inches as well, because it's following the grid of my benchmark. So again, this was already existing functionality for the walls. Now the grid can also be used for your floor or ceiling panels. And then the last one, it's very straightforward actually. It's just an update for shop drawings. Before, we needed to select either a member of the panel or maybe the floor itself, the Revit floor itself, to generate a shop drawing. Now we can actually select the label. So once you select the label and you go to generate shop drawings, you will be able to generate them. Let me just go to the drawings manager first. Let me just check if we have some views associated here. Okay. So I'm not looking at the settings right now. I'm just using the default settings, but just so we can see that once I select the label and I click on shop drawings, it's now recognizing that as being part of the panel. So it recognizes the panel from the label, and from there you can go ahead and create your drawings. So there it is. Also, the creation of the drawings are much faster now, especially for floors. And if we go here to this panel is 326. There you go. So as you can see, it created my drawings. It's not configured to what I need, but just to show you that now you can just select the labels and it will generate the shop drawings for you. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Please let us know if you have any questions and we will be happy to answer them. And see you soon.